Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. Today is Saturday, May 22nd, 2021, and today we're going to be talking about the 2022 Senate elections and how the Democratic Party might actually not have a single retirement of the entire election year. Patrick Leahy, the most senior member of the Democratic Party in the United States Senate, seems to be gearing up for a 9th term in the United States Senate. Currently speaking, he has served 46 years in the United States Senate, the oldest Democrat currently at 81 years old. So looking at his length of service, he's been in here since 1975, which means if he was to win an additional term, and given Vermont's electoral history, he very well easily can, he will be in for half a century. And the only other senator to do that is Robert Byrd, the Democrat from West Virginia, someone who was serving from 1959 until his passing in 2010. So looking at what happened with Robert Byrd, I would say that the Democratic Party might bring that up as something that Patrick Leahy should consider. The idea of health issues arising as a very big part of a reason why you might not want to run for a 9th term. Right now, there is no indication that Patrick Leahy does have any health issues that he needs to retire. The idea that he is someone who is at this point where this is a very real possibility tomorrow, no, we are not at that point. That is not how we are viewing Patrick Leahy. But 6 years is a long time, and as you get older and older, the risks and complications health-wise do tend to increase. So Democrats might be looking at that and saying, well, it's possible that if Patrick Leahy was to force to retire, because senators have retired for issues about their health and then, could have technically served, but believe that, responding to their own health concerns would be the most important thing. I believe we just saw this happen with Johnny Isakson in the state of Georgia because he won in 2016. His early retirement caused the 2020 special election between Kelly Loeffler and Raphael Warnock. So Patrick Leahy isn't exactly in a position where the state is competitive, but there is a Republican governor. And that's what might be alarming some of the Democratic Party, that, hold on a second, there's a Republican governor in a Democratic state. What's to stop him from nominating a Democrat? Now, he has already promised, this governor is Phil Scott, he's adored by Democrats in the state, but he has already promised that he will not run for United States Senate, nor will he appoint a Republican in the case that there is a retirement early. So Democrats might be a little at ease with that, but it's still a Republican governor who does have the luxury to change their mind if he decides to. But that's all up for speculation, not entirely going to happen, or anything, no real indication that that's what eventually would happen if this was to be the scenario. But Patrick Leahy, the Democrat, he is plainly put old. I think that for someone who represents such a progressive state in terms of democratic ideals, he definitely does remind many voters of the establishment, older, corporate / traditional Democrat that the Democratic Party has been trying to peel away from over the past couple of years, since 2016 and even before then. But for Patrick Leahy to remain in the race and to actually run for a 9th term, I don't think you're going to see that many Democrats angry, because it ensures that there are no retirements. And no retirements is typically unheard of, at least no retirements on the Democratic Party side. So far, we know that there are 5 Republican retirements. 0 for the Democrats would be phenomenal. Given that every single seat matters in the United States Senate, they'd rather not to have to worry about a state such as Vermont. And while that does seem out of the ordinary, in the event that Phil Scott does change his mind and views it as an opportunity to further his own agenda, his own political agenda to further office, we've seen polling numbers that show Phil Scott, the Republican, neck and neck with a potential Democratic nominee, and even with Patrick Leahy. So having that incumbency factor is a benefit. But there is that question, what if a health complication arises and he's forced to retire? How would Democrats handle that? Well, given that Vermont is the most Joe Biden or Democratic state in the union because it gave him the largest margin of victory, you do also have to recognize that this is a state that probably won't be competitive at all. There is no idea, there is no real necessary fear for Democrats to view Vermont as a state that will be competitive. I understand there was the issue with Ted Kennedy in Massachusetts' Senate race, but that was won 2 years after. And also, it's not a similar position. You're not going to be looking at Joe Biden or the Democratic Party being viewed so unpopularly by the end of 2024, or potentially, if a Republican president is there, Democrats will absolutely win that special election, or if there's another Democratic president, or if it's Joe Biden again, that's just out of consideration. We were much less polarized, I will say, in some of these more solid Republican and Democratic states back in 2010 than we are now, and I think that Vermont certainly will not vote for a Republican in almost any scenario, really. So looking at 2022, let's talk about some of these retirements in some of these more competitive states, because Vermont is not a competitive state. A retirement really wouldn't matter, but it just means that Democrats will essentially have incumbents running in every single race. That's unheard of. Looking at our retirement map, we already have vulnerable Republicans retiring. We have Pat Toomey from Pennsylvania, who last won his election bid by less than 2 points. We have Republicans from North Carolina, Missouri, Ohio, Alabama. Now, Alabama's not going to be competitive. Richard Shelby is, as a Republican, yes, he may be popular in the state, but that does not mean that Alabama is going to all of a sudden revert back to being where it was back in 2017. 2017 was an anomaly. Richard Shelby may be a popular incumbent, and then, you do have to apply the argument. You take out the factor of the incumbency, what does that mean for the state? Well, Alabama at heart is a ruby red state. There is no reality in which a Democrat wins Alabama as it stands currently. But for North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Missouri, somewhat attainable. Now, I don't think Missouri is going to be a state that the Democrats pick up, nor do I think they will pick up the state of Ohio. But they have more realistic chances in Pennsylvania and North Carolina. And the fact that retiring incumbents there are two people that are not so popular amongst the Republican Party means that President Trump is going to have more and more of an influence on those states. Pat Toomey, the Republican from Pennsylvania, along with Richard Burr, the Republican from North Carolina, both of these senators voted to convict President Trump when it came down to the eventual vote. There were the 7 Republicans that crossed over party lines that decided enough is enough. President Trump needs to be removed even after Joe Biden was already inaugurated. They believe that the Capitol insurrection was enough to convict him on these crimes that the Senate put him up for trial for. So looking at our election results, they very much did win, largely because President Trump was able to help them cross that finish line. But then, after the Capitol insurrection, all their loyalty and all their faith in President Trump did peel away. And it did sort of, move out. And they're now at a point where they likely won't hold as much weight on the primary process as they would traditionally. President Trump will hold most influence over both of these states, which could actually end up benefiting Democrats. And if Vermont was to be added into the mix, it really wouldn't change the election results. But for Democrats to have incumbents running in numerous races, I think that is a very good sign. And retirements are sort of like a snowball effect, if I was to put it honestly. When you see a top Republican or a top Democrat deciding to retire, more and more of the lesser known ones and more of the more vulnerable ones will decide to follow suit. In the 2018 midterm elections, despite, the Democratic Party losing seats in the Senate, there were 0 Democratic retirements. And while the Democrats did lose seats, they were able to run the candidates that they needed to in the states that truly mattered. Had the 2016 election results been applied to the 2018 map, Republicans would have won 60 seats in the Senate. Instead, they only won 53. Donald Trump won the state of Arizona, and it went to a Democrat. The same can be applied to Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and Ohio. 7 states President Trump won that Democrats won in 2018. Largely because those incumbents were there. Had Joe Manchin not been that nominee, it would have flipped. Had Sherrod Brown not been that nominee, it would have flipped. Had Jon Tester not been that nominee in Montana, it would have flipped. Those 3 states could have put the Republicans at 56 to 44, which means that 2020 really wouldn't have mattered because the Democrats would have needed to pick up 6, possibly 7 seats in the Senate. Instead, all they needed was 3, and they got those 3. And it was hard fought. It didn't even happen in 2020. So for 2018 to be a year where the Democrats were actually successful in preventing numerous losses, they needed all of their incumbents to run. But in 2014, when the Republican Party won a number of seats against Democrats, many of these were open seats. Democrats saw 4 retirements this year. The Republicans saw 3. 7 total retirements, but more so on the Democratic side. In 2010, another year that was abysmal for Democrats, we saw 6 Democratic retirements in the United States Senate. The GOP also picked up 6 seats. Looking at 2006, a year where the Democratic Party did very well, won back control of the Senate, they still had 2 Democratic retirements, but the numbers were kept low. With 2018 as a blueprint, I would say the Democrats should be happy that if Patrick Leahy does decide to run, this will mean there are no retirements. Patrick Leahy is a very recognizable name amongst his colleagues. This is a top Democratic official, someone who is more establishment than many other members of the U.S. Congress. And I think that if he was to retire, it might incline others to follow suit. But if the most senior member, someone who could go on to be the longest serving senator in United States history, is not retiring, that means many of them might be inclined to stay in the race. And it really matters. Because when you're looking at the states where we already have retirements, on top of potential ones, they all negatively impact the GOP. All of them. But for instance, let's say Patrick Leahy says, I'm out, and then maybe Michael Bennet decides to follow suit. Or not Mark Kelly or Raphael Warnock because they were recently elected, but let's say, for instance, that Maggie Hassan says, I might lose to Chris Sununu, I'm out too. Catherine Cortez Masto says, maybe one term is enough. Some of these questions, some of these considerations will start to pop into the minds of some of these voters, some of these senators on the Democratic side that are saying, if Patrick Leahy was to retire, who could blame me as well? But since he's staying, since this solid force within the Democratic Party, if it's pressure or it's just their own personal intuition that they want to remain committed to the United States Senate, if they want to remain in this race, they will do it. And having all of these Democrats as incumbents will tremendously help them in the overall outcome. Because right now, the GOP is going to be defending territory that they currently own now with a random Republican nominee. Instead of having the voters, a name that is recognizable by the voters, they are now going to have to prop someone up into the Senate position and ask for voters to back them the same way they did the incumbent. And if you're happy, with a Republican, even as a Democrat, you will be inclined to vote for them. But when you're given a random Republican, someone you haven't known before or haven't voted for before, you're going to be much less likely to vote for them. Even though they may be the same political party, it doesn't mean you will agree with them. Ohio is a perfect example. Rob Portman won in 2016 by over 20 percentage points. I kid you not, in a state that is hotly contested, against a former statewide official. He won by 20 points. There were a lot of Democratic crossover votes. Trump won by 8 against Clinton. Portman won by 20 against Strickland. So if there's a difference here, that means there's around 12% of these voters that decided, I'm voting for someone else besides President Trump, or at the time, businessman Trump, but I'm also voting for Rob Portman, a Republican for Senate. So when you revert these voters back to the traditional Democrat versus Republican, they don't know the candidates. Or even if they do, they don't know how they would perform in the United States Senate and will likely vote just purely down partisan ideals, purely down party favor. And that's exactly what's going to happen in these open races. That's why it matters and why it's so detrimental for the GOP. If voters were happy with the performance of Richard Burr, or happy with the performance of Pat Toomey or Rob Portman, they would win re-election. But since they aren't going to be the incumbents, who knows how one of these Republicans might perform in Congress. And the same can be applied for the Democrats, but this only benefits the opposition party. Because the incumbent party almost always, at least in congressional elections, in the House, 95% of incumbents typically end up winning re-election in a standard year. So looking at the Senate, it's really not that different. Incumbents are almost always re-elected, and when you take them out, the open races are easy opportunities for Democrats or Republicans to get in there and make a name for themselves and end up flipping a seat. But since Democrats have all of their incumbents running, at least as it stands currently, based off Patrick Leahy's indication that he's going to be running for a 9th term, Democrats are going to be completely playing offensive in these open seats. They don't have any open seats of their own. Even if they did in Vermont, it wouldn't even be a competitive one. They are honestly set for 2022. Now it's time for them to take these steps and take the initiative to end up winning in the Senate, because the Republicans could be even at an even more worse position. Right now, we know Ron Johnson is considering retiring, that Chuck Grassley is considering retiring. That could bring us to 7 total retirements while Democrats maintain their majority. 7 Republicans potentially retiring, 0 Democrats. That 0 Democrats is a very good sign, because it's what happened in 2018. But not what happened in 2014 or 2010. 0 retirements on one side is typically unheard of. What's needed to be done in 2022 is that all of these incumbents need to run. Bennett needs to run. Masto needs to run. Kelly needs to run. Warnock needs to run. Hassan needs to run. Looking at these states, Democrats need to make sure that their incumbents are there. And all signs, nothing has indicated otherwise, including this news today, that Patrick Leahy is signaling he will run for a 9th term. This is good news for Democrats, but they need to know which states that they can grapple onto and which states they shouldn't go after. As it stands now, unless Eric Greitens is the nominee in Missouri, it's probably not going to be competitive. But Ohio, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, traditional swing states, the standard Democrat versus Republican question, almost always competitive. Yes, you can try to make that state Democratic. You can try to, go into that state and end up winning it. But for the rest of them, I would say they should be off limits. However, just the fact that these are open races increases the Democratic Party's chances of victories, I would say significantly in Ohio and also in Pennsylvania and North Carolina. Because those are three states with incumbents that all won in 2016 and all won either, a race that they weren't the incumbent in or were able to pick up against an incumbent in 2010. Retiring incumbents give ample opportunities for pickups for the opposition party, and right now it is entirely one-sided. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to comment down suggestions below. Subscribe on the left if you haven't already, and check out the Instagram and Twitter. At the bottom left of the screen, there's also a Discord server for you to go ahead and join. On the screen, there's a video you can watch and then a playlist for my 2022 Senate election analysis videos. Again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all tomorrow.